It's been incredible to watch all of you present the great work you've been doing over the last year. Our team could not be prouder. Our partners could not be more proud. And now I'm super excited to introduce our next segment, which is our high school program here at Luminosity. So, as you know, Luminosity was meant to be a space for university students to collaborate together and work on projects that matter to them, that have a disruptive and positive impact on society. And over time, we realized that this type of engagement should start at a much earlier age, right? So how do we give students a chance to adopt this idea of thinking big, thinking bold? And that's a little bit of how Illuminate was born. I'm not in the right position to introduce it myself, but I couldn't be prouder to introduce the person who's leading this initiative. Sylvia, do you want to join me on stage? Sylvia. And I just want to say a couple words about Sylvia. Sylvia started in the lab 4 years ago. I remember actually when Sylvia started in the lab. I was sitting in the lab. I was a student at that time too, which is crazy. And I was getting ready to graduate, and Mark was like, hey, I need to introduce you to someone. And I'm so glad he did at that moment. And since then, Sylvia has been nothing short of a rock star. She has led multiple projects, initiatives, launched programs here in lab, and has guided other lab students on their journeys as they've joined Luminosity. Because so many of you know, Luminosity is an acquired taste, right? And also too, it takes time to really understand how we work and why we do it, because it's so different than other programs. It's a first of its kind. Won't be the last, but it takes time to adjust. And I don't think there could be a better lab representative over the last 4 years than Sylvia. And you've just really led the charge. And our team is so proud of you. And Illuminate and Edumoon and everything else you've touched is an exemplifies all of that. So I'm going to hand this over to you. And I'm so excited to see what these Illuminate students have done this semester. So thank you.
That's quite the intro. Thank you, Jasmine. So thank you all for being here today. Like Jasmine said, Illuminate, or the Illuminate Challenge, is essentially the high school consortium of the Luminosity Lab. It's an opportunity for Illuminate students and a cohort of 28 this year, a couple of whom you'll see today, to try something new, to make an impact on their community and in their world. And these incredible high schoolers have gone through a program since October, in which they were hand-chosen to tackle responsible consumption and production. And they touch on that, so I'll let them do that. But I could not be more proud of what these students have done with their time and with their energy and the commitment that they have made to what they've decided to pursue. So without further ado, I'll invite them up on stage to give their presentation.
Hello, everyone. We're very excited to be able to give you this presentation today. But first, I want to address the question on the screen you see here. Now, when many people think about nuclear versus solar energy, many people feel that solar energy is the best type of energy in terms of safety, in terms of reliability, and ultimately sustainability. But if we take a look at the numbers, we may see that, in fact, solar energy has a higher CO2 emission than nuclear energy. This is things such as manufacturing, maintenance, and transportation of the technology itself, and it ultimately draws in the question, is nuclear energy less sustainable than solar energy, or is nuclear energy maybe the more sustainable option? This is something we wanted to address through our project, as well as addressing the stigma that makes many people feel as though nuclear energy isn't a good option.
So, as Sylvia mentioned, we are the Illuminate Challenge, sponsored by the Luminosity Lab, and we are a group of high schoolers from across the valley who are tasked with solving Sustainable Development Goal 12, which is all about reducing waste through responsible production and consumption. So at our original meeting, our goal was to come up with a product or some way we could spread awareness and help solve this issue.
Okay, so originally we had 8 different teams from 5 high schools across the greater Phoenix area of Arizona. And here, through this opportunity, we were able to come together. And originally, each team was tasked with coming up with their own solution to a problem in their community. And finally, we came together to create one collective solution to SDG 12, as mentioned before.
So obviously with such a large and widely dispersed group, it was important to prioritize our communication, and our communication was facilitated on Discord, where we held discussions, shared ideas, and updated each other. After our initial meeting in December at the Luminosity Lab, we also held monthly check-in meetings just to make sure that the project was running smoothly and that all the teams were on track with where they were supposed to be. And whenever we had to make a decision on our project and we couldn't really come to a conclusion based on just some civil discussion, we utilized a democratic voting system, so we went with whatever the majority decided.
So why nuclear energy? Now, nuclear energy is 27.3% of all of Arizona's energy. And most people don't even realize this. See, nuclear energy is often not credited as the energy source people use, but in fact is what is coming to them. On top of that, Palo Verde Generating Station is the second largest generating station in America. But again, many people in Arizona and even outside of Arizona don't realize we have a generating station here at all. On top of that, nuclear energy is often viewed as dangerous. As I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of stigma around nuclear energy, even though over the past 20 to 30 years, technological innovations have propelled nuclear energy into a safe and reliable option. So that's ultimately why we decided to come together and create this project based on nuclear energy.
As a group, however, we understood that decreasing stigma around nuclear energy is a huge task, so we decided to split into 3 different committees: raising awareness, community outreach, and deliverable product. Raising awareness was responsible for researching and assembling curriculum, which was then used by community outreach at the events they held. Deliverable product was responsible for creating websites and flyers that would continue to destigmatize nuclear energy even after we had finished giving our presentations.
In order to actually measure the impact we had in these community outreach events, we created a survey that would be taken before and after each event that would target 3 main objectives involving the safety of nuclear energy, how likely people are to power their home if they know it's nuclear energy, and how much knowledge they have about nuclear energy. These surveys were taken by 46 participants over a course of multiple events, and we also took the age of these students so that we could identify if the stigma was more prominent in certain ranges.
The first question on our survey was, how confident do you feel about your knowledge on nuclear energy? As shown in the pie chart on the slideshow, 42.3% of respondents recorded a 1, indicating that they were not very confident about nuclear energy, showing the stigma around nuclear energy right now.
Yeah, and our next question asked its participants how likely they would be to power their home using nuclear energy, and we found that a little less than 50% of participants were completely against using nuclear energy to power their homes, which reflected a broader stigma surrounding nuclear energy and its usage.
Yeah, so our third question gauged the public's reaction to considering nuclear energy a safe and reliable solution to climate change. So the majority chose a 3, which really represents the lack of awareness associated with nuclear energy.
Yeah, so in order to actually change the stigma and to create a more knowledgeable public, we created a presentation that had 4 main points in order to destigmatize nuclear energy. The main key point was to explain the process of nuclear energy and how it actually is created in order to have more knowledgeable students, so that they can actually understand how it works to combat myths. So, which is the second key point, is combating myths, because there's a lot of stigma, a lot of myths around nuclear energy, simply because people do not understand or don't try to understand how nuclear energy works. And then using these, we can explain the benefits. We can better explain the benefits and how it's actually a really good option for a community like us. Connecting it back to Arizona with the Palo Verde energy plant, giving lots of power and supplying much needed energy to Arizona.
So following the presentation, we moved into an activity portion. Participants were given the option of 3 activities that they got to participate in. The first of which is a nucleus-shaped puzzle that is made from laser-cut material. This puzzle includes atomic and nuclear terms, and they get to match them to the definitions. Ultimately, it helped clear any misunderstandings surrounding definitions relating to nuclear energy. Then they could move into a myths versus facts portion. This myths versus facts shorting sheet allowed them to see what really is the facts of nuclear energy and what are more myths related to it that have become common knowledge even though they are in fact false. Finally, they moved into the stages of nuclear energy. These are all 3D printed parts that got to be lined up. The first is uranium, which then splits the nucleus, which creates heat, which creates steam, which is then powers a turbine, which then powers a generator, which ultimately creates electricity. These were made from a variety of different sources, with the puzzle in particular being made on Onshape, transferred to Adobe Illustrator, and then laser cut.
Prior to today, we've had 3 main events. First up, on the left of the screen, you can see Gear Day, sponsored by the Society of Women Engineers, and this enabled our group to talk about our motive, talk about the problems with the problems with other energies compared to nuclear energy, and also discuss the ideas behind our Luminosity group. Then on the right of the screen, you can see 2 other pictures from the Luminosity Lab and Xavier College Preparatory, which is where we conducted our surveys. And through this, we were able to gain a wide age range to get a good array of data.
In order to measure the impact of the presentation, the activities, and the events that we conducted, we did a post-survey in which the respondents of the pre-survey responded to the post-survey again, which had the same questions. And as you can see, for the first question about how confident do you feel about your knowledge on nuclear energy, we saw that most of our respondents had a much better knowledge on this topic, and that none of them put a 1 for this question. And instead, we had 37.2% vote a 3, 25.6% vote a 4, and 20.9% vote a 5, indicating that their knowledge about nuclear energy substantially grew and that more people were comfortable about it.
And we saw a similar trend with the next question, in which, once again, there were no participants that reported a 1 in response to this question, and we saw a distinct shift towards an increased likelihood in individuals to utilize nuclear energy within their homes after completing the activities.
Yeah, so after the activities, a little over 66% considered nuclear energy a safe and reliable solution to climate change. This really exemplifies how the activities were effective in reducing the stigma around nuclear energy.
Overall, we noticed a very positive trend in our post-presentation responses in comparison to the pre-survey responses indicating that participants had a very indifferent view of nuclear energy. We noticed a very much increased positive perception of nuclear energy, and this can be supported by the fact that, as mentioned previously, not a single respondent offered the response 1 on any of the 3 questions that were asked, which demonstrates that we accomplished our goal.
One big vision we have to continue to carry out this project into the future is through our website. Currently, our website displays all the information on our presentation and is available through a QR code on our flyer. But we want to continue this website and make it more thought out and have more activities based off different age ranges and based off different subjects. We want to create it more like the Palo Verde website and other nuclear energy websites that give good, accurate information in a very understandable and easy way.
As mentioned by my colleagues before, we would want to focus more on the age-based curriculum, and that is why we took the age demographics when doing the surveys. And in the future, we would like to create this curriculum that's tailored towards these different age demographics to make sure that these different people are able to better absorb the content and knowledge about nuclear energy.
In addition, on May 10th, we'll be attending the Girl Scout STEM Fair, at which we will be running a booth in order to continue to destigmatize nuclear energy. And then we are also partnering with a local engineering club, which will continue to give presentations on how safe and reliable nuclear energy really is. So for years to come, our presentations can continue to have an impact on our community.
Thank you for listening. If you want to learn more about the activities that were mentioned in our presentation, our booth is table 134, and now we're open to questions.
All right. Oof.
Thanks, guys. I am curious, you guys mentioned a lot about age demographics and the 46 responses that you've gotten so far. Have you noticed a specific difference? Like, are younger people more prone to like nuclear energy, or have you seen a trend at all yet?
I actually noticed, based on reviewing the data myself, that younger age groups actually were less familiar with nuclear energy and less confident in it as a solution to climate change, which I thought was pretty interesting. So I'm not sure why.
I'm curious if you guys, anyone has learned anything specifically from this. Like, you had a previous notion on nuclear energy, and then what you learned through this project and how that changed your view.
One thing for me, at least, was I didn't fully understand exactly how nuclear energy worked. I understood that there was some sort of splitting in the nucleus. I didn't understand alpha particles, beta particles, and gamma particles, all of that combined. So it was a very interesting scenario just to see exactly how, which has helped me grow in understanding and trusting it more, because a better understanding results in higher trust in something.
Something that I learned from this whole project was kind of like what they mentioned on the first slide. I thought that other forms of renewable energy, such as solar, wind, hydro, were a lot more effective and sustainable than nuclear energy. But going through this process helped me learn that nuclear energy is also a very sustainable option, and most times it is the most sustainable.
Hi, very good job, guys. I just had a question about the stigmas regarding health and nuclear energy. What were your findings on that? Was there some misinformation being spread about, like, the pollution or cancer being involved with it?
Yeah, I think what we mentioned was that there are sort of misconceptions surrounding nuclear energy just based off the fact that there have been like accidents in the past. But what we found through our research is that nuclear energy and the process by which it's formed has become safer as technology has expanded. So it's important to like inform the public that this option is growing as a more safe option in terms of, you know, not just in terms of safety, but also we have to consider its sustainability. So I think that was our main finding there.
What were some of your biggest challenges when taking on this project, and what do you take with you from overcoming those challenges?
I think one of our main challenges in this project was communication, because it was definitely rough for us, especially coming from a lot of different schools, to try to come together and come up with like one thing we could do. Especially over Zoom, it's hard to like really have a conversation with someone. So I think that was one of the hardest things for us. But I think one of the ways we started to combat that was trying to talk more in the Discord, and like everything we were thinking of, we just like put it out there just to see what people were thinking. Because if you never say it, like you're never gonna get a vote on it. So that's one of the ways we combated that and kind of got over it.
And I think ultimately coming out of that, we've learned a lot about effective communication, how to deliver your message in the best way while keeping everyone happy and understanding, as often just across, especially online, it's harder to convey exactly what your message means. There can be misconceptions a lot of times. So by finding those new ways, like putting out ideas, it's helped us in the future when we have jobs, when we go to college, and that sort of thing.
Made you walk all the way here. So yeah, it's really amazing to see what you've all done as high schoolers. I can only imagine, you know, I mean, even at the grad school level, working in a group of 4, it gets so crazy and chaotic. So you've all done a really good job. Now, my question is, in doing this whole thing, has it influenced any of you to pursue an engineering with a career, nuclear engineering, nuclear researcher? Are any of you kind of influenced by your work in nuclear energy?
I love your question. Definitely got me more excited about learning about different types of energy. I feel like in school we've mostly been learning about renewable energy and that it's better than nuclear or fossil fuels or any other types. It definitely opened my mind to see that there were other options. Regarding a career path, I don't know quite yet, but it's definitely a new path I could look into.
For me, I've always been really interested in physics. I love it. I think it's so fascinating. I never really even ventured into atomic physics. It just was really overwhelming for me. But actually doing research for this project made it seem not only just more fascinating to me, but a worthwhile endeavor and something that could really help us in the long run. So yeah, it was definitely something that was kind of eye-opening for me.
Okay, well done.
Guys, oh my god, sorry, my voice. Is there anything you've learned about either each of your different areas, about your areas, or the culture in that area, or just the culture between your community and yourselves, your high schools and everything through the project?
So basically, but one of the things that we had to do was we had to learn to adapt to the other people's schools. For example, we really just had we had something that we could contribute. For example, the Sustain Buddies, they were able to use their school's 3D printer and laser cutter to make some of our activities, which was amazing. Thank you guys so much. I was able to, at my school, I was able to present and give the presentation to a bunch of people. So we each had different resources that we had access to. And I think it was really interesting to learn, I didn't know that you guys could use 3D printers. That's really cool.
I think to further connecting with the community, Palo Verde was kind of an unknown for a lot of us. It's just not talked about as much. It's not exactly downtown Phoenix, so a lot of people overlook it. So by being able to learn about them, we tried reaching out and it kind of fell through, but we worked through that. We were able to go through their website, through SRP, through things like that. And ultimately, it was just a cool experience to see exactly where our energy comes from.
Well done, everybody. It's very educational. My question is, so you're trying to educate the public about nuclear energy, that it's maybe not as scary as everyone might have thought it to be, and other reasons for utilizing it. So are you trying to push for if you had $1 to give to different types of energy creation, that you would push for more of that dollar now to be towards nuclear energy? Is that what your goal is here? Or what do you, education is great for money.
Yeah, I think the main goal is to sort of push nuclear energy as an alternative option. We see solar energy used really commonly as a sustainable source of energy. So I think our main goal here is to inform the general public that hey, this is another reliable, positive option for you to use as well.
Yeah, and jumping off of that, we want to see nuclear energy being used more throughout the community, so that because through these education programs, we're able to see that it's actually making change, whether that be in policymakers or through donations to these different nuclear power plants.
I do want to stress, though, just because we're pushing nuclear energy doesn't necessarily mean we're pushing down on something like solar energy. Solar energy research, solar energy efficiency is a big topic as well, and it's still very important to further. We can't just have one example of sustainable energy we're working towards, but multiple.
Oh. Great, thank you. That was well answered.
Great job, guys. My question is just nuclear energy. Obviously, you're looking at the stigma behind it, but if you also looked at other factors as why it's not as common, like cost or availability of resources.
One thing that I learned is it's pretty expensive to build, but relatively cheap to run. So, when you're looking at it in the long run, personally, I believe it's definitely a worthwhile endeavor. But yeah, that is something that I actually found out when I was which I didn't know before. I thought that it was incredibly expensive, and that's why it wasn't really that popular. But it's really only expensive to build, and then after that, it gets cheaper.
Great job, you guys. I don't know if I could have done it better myself. How have you guys had to handle like backlash from the community? Maybe not like total backlash, but has anybody questioned what you're saying? And if so, how have you handled it?
Okay, so definitely, we didn't really. There wasn't a lot of it like to our faces, but in our data, we did know like a lot of people were not like very receptive. Like, I get it. Like, not everybody is into it, and not everybody really. They heard what we had to say, and they didn't agree, and that's okay. And I still think like I'm still happy that they were more educated, and even if they know the context and they still choose to not like agree that it's a sustainable like solution, that's totally fine. The goal was to educate them. It was not to like pull everyone towards our side. So.
Yeah, and I don't think there was any like external backlash, but like within us, when we had to decide on a topic to pursue, we were narrowed down to like energy and electricity, I think. And then I feel like a lot of people were supporting electricity because they didn't think nuclear energy would be a safe alternative to talk about. But then once we started like encouraging more communication in the Discord about nuclear energy, we were like, oh hey, this is pretty cool. And then that facilitated more research.
Is that all the questions? Okay, well, big round of applause. I could not be prouder of you guys. You guys have done an amazing job. You've done an incredible job educating your friends, your family, your community, and your public. And everybody in this room here, I think, learned something today. So thank you guys for everything you've done. If you guys are interested in asking them more questions or talking to them directly, they'll be downstairs at the Change the World event, which we highly encourage you to peruse and enjoy.
Yes, so they'll be tabling to talk more about this phenomenal project so that the greater public that is here in attendance can also learn about it too, which is great. So be prepared to get a lot of questions, guys. You answer them exceptionally well. I'm super impressed. This was such a fun presentation to watch, so good job. Just quick little announcements. For everyone here, if you haven't got a food voucher from me, please come find me. These food vouchers are you can redeem them at any point of the evening, and you get a free whole entire meal with it, which is great. It'll be downstairs, so I'll just give you your food voucher when you're ready. And then our Illuminate participants, come find me for your Luminosity t-shirts. Excellent job again today. And if you guys, for those of you that do have a name tag, these are actually magnetic pins in them, which is kind of cool, so enjoy that as part of your collection. And yeah, excellent job to you all, and yeah, we can be prouder. For everyone else, we have students here that have projects on display, but I also encourage you all to walk around the concourse. There's a lot of really cool things about musical performances. Luminosity is also tabling down. If you know people that are graduating high school and going to be attending ASU for university, Luminosity offers a Vanderplas scholarship, which is $2,500 a semester for about 2 years. And so we are now our application is open. It does close May 4th, so if there is anyone interested, please send them our way. We would love to receive as many applications as possible and reach as many people as possible to keep this awesome group going. So thank you all for attending today. This has been amazing, and enjoy the rest of Change the World and Expo.